everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
I haven't been in court in too long. I will try and remember. First of all, thank you to the Libertarian Association of Massachusetts for inviting me to speak. It is an honor. This is one of the most renowned and strongest Libertarian Party affiliates in the entire country and has been for decades. And regardless of whatever setbacks you might be going through now as an organization due to the other things happening in the world that are outside of your control, know that much like those old ads from the 80s, the spirit of Massachusetts is, in fact, the spirit of America. And that's true for the Libertarian Party as well. So I think you should all give yourselves a round of applause for just being denizens of the Commonwealth, the bane of the existence of everybody in my adopted state, just to the north of here. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. They do talk about themselves a bit. I wanted to come here today to talk about what I'm doing now and how that might be relevant to what you guys are doing going forward. Because this is the first time I've talked to a state party that is out of communion, if you will, with the National Committee. And so you're dealing with some things that are not unique, sadly, across the country. Peter was very diplomatic in his description of what's going on with the party. And it's important to see how it happened, why it happened, and how we can avoid it happening in the future if we want to grow and make this a learning experience that's valuable to us rather than just pain. And I know a lot of people have felt a lot of pain over the last few years, both inside our party and really in the country broadly. What we've seen from 2016 and the election of Donald Trump through to now is a level of partisanship and tribalism that our country only experiences probably every 50 or 60 years, where tensions get so high that it's like a rubber band gets pulled for decades and decades and decades, and then some catalytic event happens, and it snaps back, and there's just anger, and you can't go to Thanksgiving dinner, and all of the things people talk about. Because people naturally go into tribes. And what I saw during my time as chairman of the Libertarian National Committee in the roughly almost pushing on 3 decades of time being involved with the Libertarian Party from as soon as I was old enough to read David Bergling's book and realize that that made more sense to me than anything else, and I was never going to be a libertarian or anything other than a libertarian in my life, and that was when I was like 12. I've watched a lot of this stuff happen, and I've seen sort of the ebbs and the flows. And what I've seen happen most recently, most consistently, is that we have good candidates like, say, a Dan Fishman running for auditor. And people go up and they say, I love your policies. I love what you're going to do about making the auditor's office independent. I love what you're trying to do. But because you're not part of the right party and you are unlikely to win, I won't vote for you. But I want what you're trying to do to happen, and I acknowledge that the party that I am going to vote for is not going to do what you're going to do. I am going to not get what I want because I'm going to vote for somebody who's going to win. And that's been a challenge that third parties have faced in any first-past-the-post system, is how do you get people to vote for you if you're not going to win? So I decided to solve that problem after I was done with my 3rd term as National Committee Chair in 2020. I said, well, if this is what people like the best, is the policy, then I will go start a nonprofit that gets rid of the politics and just has the policy. So that's why I started the Libertarian Policy Institute. It's a 501c4 social advocacy group. It's a nonprofit. And we advance positive policies that are good for people with a very sort of looking at things that will benefit the 80%, right? So much of what's broken in our country is because small groups of people take power, usually through gerrymandering and sometimes just outright cheating, and then they do things that are good for small groups of people that support them. So I've been talking to people at lunch. Apparently Massachusetts is no different from every other state in this country. that the biggest issue at the local political level is developers taking advantage of their connections with politicians in order to get things that are good for them, but bad for the people that live in the community. Does anybody have that going on in their town? Just show of hands. Oh my gosh, it's pretty much almost everybody. If we had policy that benefited the majority of people in the town, that would be better than having policy that only benefits a few people, right? So what LPI does is we identify bite-sized policies that are good for the majority of people that poll well, sometimes over 70% favorability, but for whatever reason, the people who are in charge of the state or the town or the county or whatever it is just won't get it done. The voters want it, the politicians won't give it. That's an opportunity. It's a market opportunity. So we go and we say, these are the things, these are the top 3 things that would help. And I'm gonna use a state as an example that is just like your state if it was in a mirror. Do you know what one of the lowest political competition states in this entire country for state legislature is? Starts with an M. Mississippi. Mississippi is having legislative elections this year. And in the last legislative elections they had in 2019, 4 out of every 5 seats in the state legislature was uncontested. There is only one state in the country that's worse than that. Do you know which one it is?
Massachusetts.
It's Massachusetts. It's exactly the same problem in the inverse. That when you have a party that's so dominant that all of the political debate happens inside that party, there are things that cannot be done. Not won't be done, not we've decided to do other stuff. They are literally outside the Overton window of possible because structurally the people in charge don't want them done and they have no competition that can force them to change that. That's where we come in. We did a candidate recruitment drive that we call the Golden Spike. Because there's a saying in politics, you can't beat somebody with nobody. You gotta have an option for people. So the first step is just putting candidates on the ballot who present the opportunity to vote for something better. And in Mississippi, we identified 3 issues that were key to Mississippi this year, 2023. We picked them for this year after talking to State Policy Network think tanks and voters and donors and looking at all the polling. And the 3 we chose were repealing the grocery tax. Mississippi taxes groceries at a rate of 7%. $7 out of your $100 at the grocery store goes to the government instead of to your kids. That's wrong. So we want to repeal it. We want to make it easier for them to open public charter schools in Mississippi. Mississippi has charter schools. They have passed a law close to a decade ago. There have been a total of 8 of them approved in the entire state of Mississippi in that time. Because there's a board, a government board, that decides whether or not you're allowed to open a charter school. And it is populated by a majority of appointed people who don't want there to be charter schools. So they don't approve them. So they've got the thing, but they can't have it. We want to change that in Mississippi because it has the lowest educational outcomes in the country. And the third thing is we want to legalize cannabis for adults. Mississippi is one of the most over-incarcerating states. They have a plantation system. It's just the prisons. It's not the plantations anymore. And it was built that way on purpose. And the first on-ramp into the criminal justice system to disenfranchisement, to being removed from society, is weed. Everywhere and always that it's illegal, it's the easiest way to pop somebody at the side of the road, to take their car, to wrap them up in probation and parole, to get them into the prison industrial complex, and frankly, waste a whole hell of a lot of money putting them into secured, subsidized government housing where they have 24/7 monitoring and medical care. I have never understood why the Republican Party supports this level of government housing, but it is what it is. So those are the 3 issues we chose, and we recruited candidates not by saying we want you to run as a libertarian. We're not by saying we want you to help the Mississippi Libertarian Party, but by saying these are 3 things that need to change in our state, and we need people to be willing to stand up and put themselves out there, not for them, not so they can get a resume boost, not so they can sell more homes or cars because their name recognition goes up. Do it for your neighbors, because these are things that will make it better for everybody in our state, and if you don't stand up, who will? And I'm happy to report that after a concerted effort, we recruited the most candidates to run for state legislature in the state of Mississippi in 100 years, since 1923, when the socialists were the last party outside the D's and R's to run this many. We have 17 candidates running, 12 in the lower house and 5 in the state senate. And they are running on these 3 issues that resonate with the voters, that have good, solid support, and in most of their races, they're in 2-way races. All but 2 are in 2-way races, where it is the dominant party and our candidate who's going to stay focused on 3 policy issues that are going to benefit the people of the state. And we're changing how politics work. We did this last year in Alabama, in Arkansas, in Iowa. We put nearly 150 candidates on the ballot. We walked them through all of the filing period. We walked them through how to file their reports, get signatures, do all the things. We made it so there wasn't a barrier to them running and serving their community. Because you have to help people. It's not enough to say you can run for office. You have to ask them. You have to say, Marcus, there's nobody running for office in your district. These are important issues. Will you step up? You have to say, Brandy, there's nobody running. Will you step up? Dan, there's nobody running. Will you step up? We'll help you do it. We'll make it easy. And it's not about you. You don't have to worry about, am I a good public speaker? You don't have to worry about, do I have the resume? You don't have to worry about, do I have a criminal record? Because it's not about you. It's about your neighbors. And that's the fundamental difference of running on policy. When you want to make a change in the world, you can use tactics that other people can't. You can run in a district where you're not going to win. Because if you're running in a 2-way race, you automatically get the 30 to 35% that the alternate party that didn't send anybody to show up gets. You're already that far. And if you're running on things that the dominant party won't do, it's not that hard to take that extra 5, 10, 15%. And even if you don't win, our best candidate in 2022 did not win. We have no wins on the board out of 150-ish tries, if you will. But they did get over 45%. And when you get over 45% in a 2-way race, you make your opponent feel it. And they know why you got the 45%, because you stayed really focused on why you're running. They can't say it's because of your demographics. They can't say it's because of the economy or whatever it is. These are people who chose to vote for not a winner because of specific policy issues. So when that bill comes up in the next session, in the next time that the State House comes together, all of the supporters of your campaign call in and say, you know, I didn't vote for you, Mr. or Mrs. elected official. I voted for your opponent mostly because I think that, you know, cannabis is a racial justice issue and we just have to fix it. And you weren't going to do it. So I would like you to consider maybe changing your position, because there were quite a lot of us who voted for your opponent for this reason. Maybe this is something you could improve on. And we saw that happen in Alabama. Our candidate for lieutenant governor, the Libertarian candidate, was in a 2-way race, just like Chris Crawford was here, against a Republican. And she didn't do as well as we like. I think she got about 16% in that race. But one of the big things that was big in Alabama was the grocery tax, repealing the grocery tax. And in this last legislative session, the year after the election, the lieutenant governor of the state, the Republican, who opposed grocery tax repeal, came out in favor of it. Now, do I know for sure that he came out in favor of it because he didn't like having 20% of his votes taken away from him by somebody who was running for that? I don't know for sure. But My good friend Spear Lancaster, who ran for governor of Maryland back in 2002, he was the first person, I think, in about 100 years to run outside the dominant parties, and I helped with that campaign. He used to tell me, Nick, some politicians are stupid. Some politicians are corrupt. Every single politician can count. Everyone knows how to count. And they know how many votes they got, and they know who they got them from, and they know how many votes they didn't get, and they know who they went to. And that's how you make change. You make change by focusing on the goal of what you're trying to do, not on the prestige, the title, the resume building of what you're trying to be. When my daughter started 6th grade, a family friend of ours sent her a letter and said, because she was going to go into student government, and he wanted to give advice. Said, if you're going to start going into politics right at the student government in 6th grade, there are two kinds of people in the world. There are people who run for office in order to be something. They want to be president. They want to be on the town meeting. They want to be a selectman. They want to be a congressman. And there are people who run for office to do something. They want to do something good for the community. They want to do something different in Congress. They want to do something about an issue that no one else will fight for. And he said, Ruth, if you're going to run, if you're going to be in student government, I encourage you to be a do person, not a be person. Because those are the people who get stuff done. Those are the people who will lead our country in the future. This is the greatest country in the world because it wasn't built on titles or ethnicity. There was no blood or soil at the foundation of this country. It was built on the idea that people could agree on how to live with each other, with people who are different, with people from different backgrounds, with people with different values, that we could agree on a set of rules that allow all of us to flourish, to pursue our own happiness, as long as we don't hurt other people and we don't take their stuff. And all you have to do to be an American, at least before some of the immigration restrictions that we put in from time to time, because this country is schizophrenic, and every so often just goes on a tear and excludes people for no real good reason, other than there are always people in our society who want to go back to a time when there was domination, when there were second-class citizens, because they want to be something more. They want to be above other people. They don't worry about what they're going to do. They just want to be up here, and they need somebody to be down here so that they feel good about themselves. But America was built on the idea that we can do it differently here. That if you sign up to live this way, according to these rules, we welcome you. We welcome you, no matter where you came from, no matter what your background is, because it's about what we do together. It's not about being in charge. Now, I was asked before I started speaking, how many times I've given this speech. The answer is 0. Because this speech is for you. It's for the Libertarian Association of Massachusetts. I've talked to a lot of you just in the last hour or so about what you see as the future of this party. And Chris has given you the opportunity. She's given you something that I want you to understand. You have the chance to make this something different from what has ever been seen in this Commonwealth. And so my challenge to you is figure out what it is you want to do to make your community better. Ask your neighbors, what is the one thing that could make things better here? Is it housing? Do we need more housing? Is it a reduction in property taxes? Is it some sort of over-criminalization or over-policing? What is it in my community that needs to be done, but the existing politicians won't do it? And identify that issue, and then step up and run on it. Stay focused. I just want to fix this problem. It hasn't gotten fixed. I'm stepping up because I think it would be better if we fixed it. Be an ambassador for the idea that libertarians are good people who respect others' rights to live as they choose, to pursue happiness as they choose, and want to empower that as long as it doesn't hurt other people. And we're looking for the solutions. We're looking for the barriers we can reduce to starting a business. We're looking for the things that are unjust that should not be done and how to stop doing them. We're looking to make everybody's life better, and we're looking to find solutions together. Over on the table, there's some stuff about LPI, and I'll be available afterwards to chit-chat with anybody who has questions about our work. But on the back of my cards, I put a quote. Not everybody puts a quote, I put a quote. From the person who most, to me, embodies what it means to be a libertarian. Frederick Douglass said, "I would unite with anybody to do right, and with nobody to do wrong." And that's how we approach things. That's, Dan, what you were talking about. When you have an auditor who got elected, not from our party, not sharing all of our values, but she is doing something good, it is important that when people are doing the right thing, that we step up and help them do it. We don't have to be Republicans or Democrats, but we have to acknowledge the good that is being done. Because the next great shift in our politics, I believe, is putting people and policies ahead of partisanship. I believe that putting policy over politics, because policy is not political. You either want there to be more taxes or you want there to be less taxes. Don Gorman once told me, when you start talking about policy, good and bad aren't even in your vocabulary. If you want to get anywhere in a legislature, it's trade-offs. This policy will do this, and it will also have this cost. What do we want to do, guys? Because we're doing it together. We're doing it with money that got taken through taxation. It's coercive. We've got money that we didn't get in the right way. The least we could do is be good stewards of it. So what's the best thing for everybody on the policy realm? And I think the shift in our country is going to be away from 51-49 culture war issues. And you know, if we get in charge, then we're going to go undo all the stuff you did, because now we're in charge and we're going to tell you how to live your life, not the other way around. That's over. And it's going to be people looking for the Pareto optimal solutions, the 80% solutions to fix things in this country. And if we can either be at the front of it as libertarians and show people a better way to be and to do, or we can let that opportunity pass and someone else will seize it, because someone always does. So my challenge to you is, if you want the Libertarian Association of Massachusetts to grow, if you want the Libertarian Association of Massachusetts to send out lights into your communities, to recruit new people so that the next convention doesn't fit in this restaurant and you don't know anybody, if you want that, we're here to help. And I would start with, there's an easy trial run for this one. How many state senate districts in the state of Massachusetts?
40.
How many state committee persons per senate district are required for a political party?
2.
What are the requirements to be a committee person for the political party in each state senate district?
Man or woman?
You have to be a man or a woman.
One of each.
It's very binary. I don't know why your retrograde state works that way, but that is how it is.
Does it mean if you're X, you can do either, right?
I don't, have they dealt with it yet?
I actually don't know.
Well, what a great time to find out here in 2023, because those elections are coming up now. There are 80 seats to elected office that are available to you right now, and they have limited petitioning requirements. How many petitions do you need?
50.
50, which means you have to go talk to roughly 100 of your neighbors. You go knock on the doors of 100 of your neighbors who are not affiliated with another political party or are affiliated with the Libertarian Association of Massachusetts or Libertarian Party, whatever it is. You get them to sign your nominating papers. You get on the ballot and you win.
And we can
now
get you the
are-
list. And we can get you the list.
And we will get you the list. We'll probably even get you volunteers who are not willing to step up and put their name on the ballot. And I tell you, a secret, don't tell anybody else. You can guilt those people into helping you. Because what you say is, I get it, Howard, I know. You don't like to talk to people, that's cool. I'm gonna put myself out there. Can I count on you to get me 10 of those signatures? Just take it to work. Can you do that? Oh, of course you can, yay! And now you're part of the thing too. And we go to people that we know that aren't libertarian yet. We go, hey Christopher, I just know you from law school. I know you think my politics are stupid and wacky, but you like me. I'm a good guy. Why don't you kick me $100 so I can go get some people to help me? Come on, man. What do you say? Yay! Yes, Don.
Can I share a secret?
Yeah.
You can spend an afternoon at Market Basket and get those signatures.
See, it can be done. And when the people come up and they go, why should I sign for you? Say, look, I'm here to make sure that everyone in our Senate district knows about these 3 issues that are the most important ones that you guys figure out, right? I can't tell you that, although I'm happy to help you figure it out. There's a rubric to go through to find the good ones. But you pick your 3 and you stick to them and you say, I just want to be an elected official pushing these ideas in this state Senate district. And then, it ain't hard to just get another set of signatures right around when spring turns around, and now you're running for state Senate, and now you're contesting the entire state Senate in the state of Massachusetts the first year after you became a political party, when they don't see you coming. And you will shake the shit out of the Commonwealth, I promise you. But you have to believe. You have to believe. Not in me, not in the technique, not in the organization, although we will take your donations. You have to believe in yourselves, and you have to believe that you bring something that is valuable to this state, that is worth doing. And if you believe that, change everything. And that's my speech. Thanks so much. Now I'll take questions for as long as, till Don makes me stop. Yes, Walter.
Oh, we have been in this situation before.
Okay.
We are aware of the requirements to run state committee members. And in the past, it's always been a problem because we've never gotten more than a handful of people to do it. And there's always been a great fear that some outsider will control the party by contesting those committee seats. And I think that fear is probably more real now than it has been before. And in fact, I was actually going to propose a resolution today where we ask the Secretary of State to excuse us from electing our state committee members at the primary. So I don't know.
How will that help?
That will keep us from being controlled by somebody from outside of our party.
I'm going to ask you, the last time this happened, when was the last time this happened?
When was
That
the
you
last
had the
time?
opportunity to be a major party and have elected state committee persons?
No, it was sooner than that. It was, did we run state committee members when Johnson got the 3% Massachusetts?
Yep, we had 3 people.
Yeah, we got 3 people who ran for the state committee.
What year was this?
That would be 2020?
2020.
2020. Walter, how many people did you ask to run for state committee?
I wasn't on the state committee at that time, but
Okay. How many people did you ask?
none.
Okay. Peter?
But others did.
Peter, how many people did you ask to run for state committee in 2020?
I don't believe I asked anybody.
Don, how many people did you ask to run for state committee in 2020?
He asked
Can't
me.
remember. Less than
Okay.
5.
Dan, how many people did you ask to run for state committee in 2020?
While I was new, Don asked me, I ran.
Okay, so he asked 1. Good. Anyone else who was active then? How many people did you ask to run for state committee in 2020?
Nobody else.
Now, most people would say that a public speaker should never be so confrontational. And that's usually a good idea, except not sometimes. Like Miles Davis said about jazz. Once you know how to do it, you know how to break your rules. The reason you didn't have people run for state committee person is you didn't ask them to run. Period, full stop. And if you want the people on the state committee to not be outsiders who don't share your values, get on the goddamn phone and call people who share your values until you get somebody to run. That's it. That's the solution. The solution is not to get the Secretary of the Commonwealth go beg a government official to put up a wall so that people can't come into your party. That's insane. No offense. I love you, but I'm just telling you, I've seen this happen. There's a unique perspective that you get, and I'll bring it down a little. There's a unique perspective you get when you're national chair for 3 consecutive terms. You see literally every bad thing that can happen to a state party affiliate because you see all 50 of them at the same time. And when Massachusetts is doing great, trust me, there are other states in this country that are doing real bad. And it goes back and forth. Every party I've seen that tries to use the Supreme Court precedent that Bill Hall argued in San Francisco VU in order to not comply with the state's rules about how to run a state political party, none of them have been successful. Because the confession you're making when you do that is we don't want to be a big party. That's the confession. We don't want to be big. And you need to ask yourself, if you believe that the spirit of libertarianism is the spirit of America, should we be the smallest party or the biggest one? We should be the biggest one. That's what I'm committed to doing if I ever get back involved in partisan politics, which I'm not right now. I am a nonpartisan person. If you want to run on our issues as a Democrat, Republican, Green, Socialist, I don't give a shit. Because the policy is libertarian and policy is not partisan. Yes, done.
Why are you being confrontational? I've already, out of the 40 districts, I've already got 1 district covered. My wife and myself.
Yes!
So, don't be confrontational. Let's ask everyone here, if you're interested in running for one of these seats, come see me so I can jot your name down and make my work easier.
And I want to make an offer right now. I didn't run it by Richard, but I probably should have. If y'all want any help as far as training, issue, policy stuff, how to knock a door, how to gather a signature, I mean, we did an entire statewide ballot drive up in New Hampshire in addition to the one that the national affiliate did. We know a little thing about getting signatures, and we're happy to train you how to do it. There's a technique to it. You can be done in a weekend, and you'll actually enjoy it, I promise, when you're done. But we're happy to do whatever we can to help. I want Massachusetts to be a target state for our efforts as an organization in 2024. I think we have the ability to completely, there won't be a Republican Party in Massachusetts after 2024 if we get our way. They'll just cease to be. That's how transformational this can be, because they're already in disarray. If you can fill that vacuum faster than they can adapt, they're just gone. Like they'll disappear in an election cycle. Politics is very fickle. And if you can see the opportunity, right, when, what is that Rudyard Kipling poem? You can keep your head when all around you are losing their wits. If you can do a lot. Other questions? Yes, Gary.
During the campaigns you mentioned where you were focusing on letting the candidate focus on what they can do for other people as opposed to on themselves. Did you actually change the campaign message so that the candidates weren't talking about themselves? I always find it revolting when people running campaigns talk about, I've lived here for this long, this is my wife, these are my grandchildren. Personally, I'll stack my 3 grandchildren for this. But who cares? Why does anyone care? My response would be, I don't know why you care about my grandchildren, but I'm going to tell you whether I'll vote in favor or against this particular bill.
Right.
Did you have to change your messaging to?
Yes, and thank you for that question. I'll pay you later. We started
You can pay me
a
now.
501c3 Libertarian Policy Foundation because a nonprofit is allowed to take tax-deductible contributions and have tax-deductible operations, and if the government is going to give us free money and benefits, we are going to take it. So we have a nonprofit 501c3 that does outreach. I think a lot of you may have received an envelope in the mail. We finally got our nonprofit permit after only, 4 months of fighting with the post office. Lovely agency, definitely top-notch stuff. But we also have a training, an 8-hour all-day training curriculum that we got an instructional designer to help us do, because running on policy first requires being trained how to do that. It is different from the Leadership Institute training on the right, or what used to be Wellstone but is now called Repower for progressives. So the two big training orgs in our country teach you how to run as a Republican or how to run as a Democrat, right? That's what they teach you, and there are techniques that work on one and not the other. The biggest one is Republicans use money, Democrats use people, because they play to their strengths. You should always play to your strengths. Fighting uphill, not worthwhile. Don't pick the issue people don't like, pick the issue they will do. You know, this is just basics. We're going to teach libertarians, people who share our libertarian policies from all parties, because we're not partisan, because that would threaten our tax status, how to run on what they're going to do to solve problems. The other thing that this requires, and I should mention this, if you are very ego-driven, this is not the right way for you to run for office, unless you want to improve yourself. Because, like in war, sometimes not everybody gets to live, but you still take the objective. When you're trying to change policy using this particular lever that we've developed, you don't win a lot. And if your ego is going to be bruised by not winning, it's not the right thing for you. But if you will be satisfied and feel like you've done something meaningful, if the incumbent rep in your district passes the law that fixes the thing that you ran for, and you don't have to take the stupid government job, this is right for you. Because it is literally public service, it is selfless. And I think that selflessness is something that's been missing from this party for a long time, for a lot of reasons. And I think if we go out and recruit our neighbors and friends who share our values, we can make this the dominant culture. And then we solve the other problem that Peter talked about earlier, but we solve it in a peaceful way. It doesn't involve fights, doesn't involve yelling, it doesn't involve criticisms on the internet. It just involves us showing people this is a better way to be a libertarian than the way other people have chosen to be a libertarian. And they like us better. And if we have 40, 80 elected officials in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts all saying these kind of things, then there really will be no doubt in the minds of the public what libertarian means here, in the heart of America, and what it will start to mean elsewhere. I don't want to take too much time, so you tell me when I can have to stop asking questions or answer. I'm supposed to stop. Good. Okay, thank you so much.